Hello everyone, welcome to my lecture series of electromagnetic fields. We will discuss different theories, phenomena and numerical solution of different cases in this series. I hope this series will give a fruitful outcome to physics scholars or engineering students. So in the previous video we have applied Gauss's law on three different charge configuration and we have determined the field intensity and flux density for those three configuration. Today in this video we are going to learn spherical shell of charge and uniformly charged sphere, and we are going to apply the same Gauss's law to determine the field intensity and density due to these two charge configuration. Now these are very important topics because these configuration are practically being used in many areas of electrical engineering. So let us understand both. Firstly, we are going to consider a spherical shell of charge. So as you can see, I have taken a spherical shell with radius a and it is having some surface charge density rho s coulomb per meter square. So we can say that charges either positive or negative are distributed uniformly over the surface of this sphere. Okay, so this is our case in which we are having a spherical shell which is hollow from inside, fine, and the radius of this such sphere is small a and charges are uniformly distributed. Now if we want to analyze the full case, then we need to consider three regions, fine. So our area of interest for this case will be three. The first will be the space outside the sphere. So all this region which is outside the sphere, what will be the value of E bar and D bar for outside region, fine. The another area of interest will be the surface of sphere. See, our ultimate objective is to determine D bar and E bar with the help of Gauss's law, fine. So this is our objective, but here D bar and E bar will be different for all three regions, and the third region is the space inside sphere. Okay, so space inside sphere. So from the discussion that we have done up till now and also in the previous video, we know that first we need to select proper shape of Gaussian surface. Okay, so here the symmetricity of charge implies that we should select the spherical surface as our Gaussian surface, because Gaussian surface should be such that the direction of field flux density should be normal or tangential at any point of surface. So if I select a spherical Gaussian surface, then now D bar or E bar due to this charge distribution will be such like this. So I can have the direction of D bar normal to the surface at every point, fine. So this is the first reason that I am selecting a spherical surface as Gaussian surface, fine. Why? Because D bar is normal at every point of Gaussian surface. I also request you to refer previous videos if you don't know the conditions to define any Gaussian surface, fine. The second condition was that it should be closed surface. So as you can see, this spherical surface is closed surface, so we are also satisfying the second condition. And third condition was that it should enclose the charges. So as you can see, the total charges have been enclosed with this surface, fine. So all these three conditions have been satisfied. Now once we have decided the Gaussian surface, the next thing was to decide the coordinate system. So here the coordinates of any surface, either imaginary or real. Fine, here the spherical shell is real but Gaussian surface is imaginary surface. Fine, so the coordinates will be most convenient to operate in spherical coordinate system, because majority shape of any real and fictitious surfaces are sphere. Fine, so next thing was to decide the coordinate system for calculation. So generally, whatever the shape of Gaussian surface will be there, the same coordinate system will be applicable for calculation. Fine, this is the thumb rule. So we are going to use spherical coordinate system for calculation, and we have decided to use sphere as Gaussian surface. Okay, now all the things are just repeating things, but we will proceed step by step very clearly. Okay, so now we are going to imagine a Gaussian surface with radius r. So as you can see, this blue surface is a Gaussian surface with some radius r, and there is some differential surface ds bar in the direction of radius. Fine, so what will be the next procedure? We are going to apply Gauss's law, and Gauss's law states that the flux is nothing but the total charge enclosed, and which is nothing but closed surface integration of density with dot product of surface. Fine, so this is mathematical representation of Gauss's law. I hope you guys recognize it and you will remember it throughout your career. So this is the standard form of Gauss's law. Okay, what will be the procedure? First we will find the flux passing through this small differential surface. Fine, here the coordinate system is spherical coordinate system, so ds bar can be written as, so r square sine theta d theta d phi ar bar. Similarly, we are going to use, or we are going to need the value of d bar, so d bar can be written as dr into ar bar. Fine, because we know that the density is emerging from the sphere. Okay, so it is also in the direction of radius, so d psi, that is the small flux passing through this differential surface, can be written as d bar dot ds bar, and this d bar dot ds bar will give you dr ar bar dot r square sine theta d theta d phi ar bar. So here dr and r square sine theta d theta d phi will be scalars, so it will come out fine. The dot product will only be performed between vectors. Here both are base vectors, so ar bar dot ar bar will be 1. Okay, so finally we got d psi equals to dr into r square sine theta d theta d phi. Now if we want to find the total flux passing through the whole Gaussian surface, then what can we do? So psi total will be equal to closed surface integration of d bar dot ds bar, or we can also say closed surface integration of d psi that we have obtained previously. So psi will be equal to double integration, here the value of d psi will be dr r square sine theta d theta d phi. Now here two variables are there, theta and phi, so lower limit for theta in spherical coordinate system is 0 and upper limit is pi. Same way for phi, the lower limit is 0 and upper limit is 2 pi. Fine. Kindly refer the videos of first chapter to recall these things. Now if you want to perform integration, then dr and r square will come out from the integration as a constant sin theta. So integration of sin theta with respect to theta will be negative of cos theta with lower limit 0, upper limit pi, and we do not have any variable of phi, so integration of 1 with respect to phi will be phi itself with lower limit 0, upper limit 2 pi. And simplifying this, we are having dr into r square into 4 pi. And here psi total is nothing but charge enclosed. So it has enclosed whole charge. So we can write q is equals to dr into 4 pi r square, and value of dr will now be equal to q upon 4 pi r square. Okay. We can also say that if charges are uniformly distributed over the surface, then rho s is nothing but q upon area of this surface. Now area of this surface is nothing but 4 pi a square. So we can write q is equals to rho s into 4 pi a square. Fine. So finally we are having two relationships. First one, that is dr is equals to q upon 4 pi r square. See here, r is a radius of Gaussian surface, and the value of q that we have got was rho s into 4 pi a square, where a is radius of spherical shell. Okay, so d bar can be written as q upon 4 pi r square ar bar, because the direction of flux density is in the direction of radius itself. The unit is coulomb per meter square, and E bar, which is nothing but d bar upon epsilon naught, can be written as capital Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square ar bar, and the unit will be volt per meter. If we put this value q is equals to rho s upon rho s into 4 pi a square, then this same equation, let us say this is equation 1, this is equation 2. So both this equation can be represented in another form as, so in place of q we are going to write rho s into 4 pi a square. So d bar now can be written as rho s into a square upon r square ar bar, coulomb per meter square. And similarly E bar can be written as rho s upon epsilon naught a square upon r square ar bar, volt per meter. Fine. So either you represent d bar and E bar in terms of q or in terms of surface charge density, that is rho s. Both the representations are equally correct. Fine. But generally we have provided with the value of q, that is why we are adopting this. Fine. Otherwise equation 1 is same as equation 3 and equation 2 is same as equation 4. Okay. Now moving further, if we have to find the intensity and density at the surface, so for that case what we will do, we will assume a Gaussian surface, or say a spherical Gaussian surface with radius a. Fine. And if we perform the same calculation again, then what will happen, in place of r in equation 1, 2, 3 and 4, in place of r, small r, we will have small a. So if we put a, then for the surface on the surface of sphere, on the surface of sphere we will have d bar equals to q upon 4 pi a square in the direction of r, and the unit is coulomb per meter square. Same way, intensity on the surface of spherical shell will be q upon 4 pi epsilon naught a square in the direction of r with unit volt per meter. In another representation, when we are putting q is equals to rho s into 4 pi a square, so if we put this value in place of q, then we will have d bar equals to rho s ar bar coulomb per meter square, and E bar equals to rho s upon epsilon naught ar bar volt per meter. Fine. So on the surface of spherical shell, the flux density and field intensity will be like this. And now for the inner surface, we have so we are assuming a Gaussian surface inside the sphere with some radius, say r. So what will happen? According to Gauss's law, psi is nothing but q enclosed. But here all charges are distributed on the surface of spherical shell. So inside the sphere there is no solid material and no charges are there. So q enclosed is 0, and if q enclosed is 0, then psi is also equal to closed surface integration of d bar dot ds bar. So this will also be 0. If this is 0, then d bar, because ds bar is a differential surface which cannot be 0. Fine. So the only thing possible to satisfy this equation is d bar should be 0, and if d bar equals to 0, then E bar is nothing but d bar divided by epsilon naught, so it will also be 0. Fine. So for the region inside the sphere, the value of intensity and density is 0. Okay, and now if we want to summarize this thing, then we can have a very delicate graph and very important as well, which should be understood, that how this intensity and density differs for different regions. Okay, so we are going to prepare a summary table for all these three area of interest. Okay, so our area of interest was, first area was R is less than A, that is inside the sphere, inside shell, not sphere, inside cell. Then second area was R equals to A, that is surface of shell. And the third one was R is greater than A, that is outside the cell. Okay, so three area of interest for which we have discussed the things up till now, and two quantities, flux density and field intensity. So for area or inside the space shell, the value of d bar and E bar that we have got was 0, because for this region the charges enclosed are 0. For surface we have got q upon 4 pi a square in the direction of r coulomb per meter square. Now here, as you can see, q is a constant, fine, that is the total charge spreaded on the surface. 4 pi constant, here A is also constant because the radius of spherical shell will not going to be changed. Okay, so this is a constant value, fine, in the direction of radius. Similarly, E bar on the surface can be written as q upon 4 pi epsilon naught a square ar bar. Here epsilon naught is also constant, so this term is also constant, it will not vary. Fine. But for this, that is region outside the shell, the relation that we have got was 4 pi r square. Here r is not constant, r is the radius of Gaussian surface, so we can assume any number of Gaussian surface and this radius can be changed. Okay, so as we increase this radius, the intensity and flux density will decrease. Fine. So this is very easily understandable. So here, as you can see, we have completed our summary table for flux density and field intensity. Here, as you can see, the magnitude of intensity is inversely proportional to the square of distance. So as you increase the radius of Gaussian surface, then intensity will get decreased. So here E1 will be greater than E2, it will be greater than E3, it will be greater than E4. Okay, for R1, R2, R3 and R4. Fine. So in this manner, if we move away from the center of sphere, the magnitude of intensity is going to decrease. If we want to show this in a graphical manner, then on x-axis we are representing the distance of point from the center of sphere. Fine. On y-axis we can represent E bar or D bar, whatever you want. Fine. Here I am representing intensity. So on the center of sphere, that is, if the distance is 0, fine, the intensity is 0 due to the charge enclosed is 0. If we move from center to the surface of sphere, so we are moving from center to the surface of sphere. So this is nothing but A. Fine. So moving towards this, the intensity will be 0 up to the surface, but as soon as we reach the surface, our intensity will be q upon 4 pi epsilon naught a square. So we will have some non-zero value of intensity at surface, and that value will be q upon 4 pi epsilon naught a square ar bar. And now if we move away from the surface, so if we move in this direction in which r is increasing, so and if r is increasing, then our intensity is going to decrease in a inverse proportion of r square. So as we move away from the surface, our intensity will decrease in this manner. So this is how we can graphically represent the value of field intensity for different regions due to spherical charge cell. Now the second case of today's lecture is uniformly charged sphere. So for this configuration, here the charges are distributed uniformly throughout the volume. So as you can see, this sphere is not a shell, it is a solid sphere in which material is there from the center to surface without any void and cavity. Fine. And all charges are uniformly distributed throughout the volume. So here in place of surface charge density, what is defined? Volume charge density. Fine. Otherwise all the things are same, so we are going to assume a Gaussian surface with some radius r to determine E bar and D bar outside the sphere. Fine. Then we are going to assume a differential surface ds in the direction of r. Here the ds and d bar both will be in the same direction. Okay, and we are going to follow the same procedure. So for the first area, that is r is greater than a, or say outside the sphere, what will happen? So for outside the sphere, we are going to have dr equals to q upon 4 pi r square ar bar. The calculations will be very same as we have done in previous part. That is why I am not repeating the those calculations. And if we have dr is equals to q upon 4 pi r square ar bar, then sorry, here direction will not be there, then d bar will be q upon 4 pi r square. Now the direction will be there, ar bar coulomb per meter square. Fine. And we also have E bar equals to d bar upon epsilon naught. So we are having q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square ar bar. The unit will be volt per meter. Fine. Now as we have done in previous case, we can also write the value of q. Now here rho v is nothing but total charge divided by total volume. Now volume of this sphere with radius a can be written as 4 by 3 pi a cube, correct? So if you want to write q in terms of rho v, then q will be rho v into 4 pi a cube divided by 3. Fine. So just putting this value of q in these two equations, say equation 1 and 2, we will have d bar equals to rho v by 3 into a cube upon r square ar bar coulomb per meter square, and E bar will be equal to rho v by 3 epsilon naught a cube upon r square ar bar volt per meter. So this is equation 3 and this last one is equation 4. Equation 1 and 3 both are representing the same thing. Equation 2 and 4 both are representing the same thing. Fine. So this is what about the space outside the sphere. Now for the surface of sphere, what will be the change? So now we are going to assume a Gaussian surface on the surface of our sphere. So radius will be a. So the previous results will be same with the only change that here curly r will be replaced by a. So d bar, previously we have got q upon 4 pi r square ar bar. For this case we will change the r with a. So replacement of r with a will give you q upon 4 pi a square ar bar coulomb per meter square. Similar change will be there in the equation of E bar. So q upon 4 pi epsilon naught a square ar bar with unit volt per meter. Fine. Now if we write q equals to rho v into 4 pi a cube divided by 3 and put this in these two equations, then we will have rho v by 3, 4 pi will get cancel out, multiplied by a ar bar coulomb per meter square, and E bar equals to rho v upon 3 epsilon naught multiplied by a ar bar volt per meter. So these are the value of flux density and field intensity on the surface of uniformly charged sphere. And now for the third area of interest, that is inside the sphere. Now for the space inside the sphere, this Gaussian surface will enclose the charge depending on the radius of it. Fine. So if the radius is increased, the amount of charge enclosed will increase, and if the radius is decreased, then amount of charge enclosed will also be decreased. Fine. So the things that we have calculated will be very same, that is d bar equals to q upon 4 pi r square ar bar coulomb per meter square. Fine. But here the value of q is not the total charge enclosed by the surface, because for previous two cases the total charge were enclosed by the Gaussian surface. Fine. Here q will only be equal to, q will be rho v into volume of Gaussian surface, volume of Gaussian surface, not the sphere. Okay. So the volume of Gaussian surface will be 4 by 3 pi r cube. It will not be 4 by 3 pi a cube. Okay. So putting this value of q in this equation, we will have rho v by 3. Now we are having r over here. Fine. So rho v by 3 into r ar bar coulomb per meter square, and E bar will be equals to rho v by 3 epsilon naught multiplied by r into ar bar volt per meter. Fine. So these two is very crucial to understand, because in case of uniformly charged sphere, we will have non-zero field intensity and flux density inside the sphere. Fine. Because even for such region, the Gaussian surface will enclose some charge, and some intensity and density will be there regarding the charges enclosed. Now to summarize this topic, we are having three regions. R is less than a, that is inside sphere, r is equals to a, that is on the surface of sphere, and r is greater than a, that is outside space of sphere. If we have the things to compare, then d bar and E bar. So for d bar, inside the sphere we have rho v divided by 3 into r ar bar. For E bar we have rho v upon 3 epsilon naught into r. See, here we are using this convention in place of q with a particular reason, because when I will teach you the graph, at that time this relation will be more helpful rather than using the equation with q. Okay, so that is why we are going to follow this convention. Now at the surface, the value will be rho v upon 3 into a ar bar. The value of intensity will be rho v upon 3 epsilon naught into a ar bar. Now here, as you can see, for the region inside the sphere, the intensity and density both is directly proportional to r, that is the distance from the center of sphere. Okay. For this second area of interest, that is on the surface of sphere, the magnitude of intensity and density are constant. So as you can see, rho v is constant, 3 epsilon naught is also constant, and a, that is the radius of sphere, which is also constant. So all the terms are constant. So for this second one, modulus of E bar is constant. Now for the outside, we have rho v upon 3 a cube upon r square ar bar, and the equation for E bar was rho v upon 3 epsilon naught a cube upon r square ar bar. Now in this third column, if you can see, rho v is constant, 3 is also constant, a cube is also constant, because here a is constant, so its cube will be constant. The only variable is r square. So we can write that modulus of intensity or value of intensity is inversely proportional to the square of distance. Fine. So with these three conclusions that we have just show, we can plot a graph of distance from the center of sphere and the intensity. So on x-axis I am taking the distance, on y-axis I am taking the intensity. So for at the center of sphere the distance is 0, so d and e both will be 0. As we move from the center towards the surface, so from the center towards the surface, so this is a, this is 0, the intensity will increase linearly. Why linearly? Because we have concluded that for this region the magnitude of intensity is directly proportional to distance, and if two quantities are directly proportional to each other, then it will always follow a linear relationship. So we can say it will linearly increase from the center to the surface. At the surface it will be constant. So as you can see, at the surface the value of intensity is constant, and this constant value is nothing but rho v upon 3 epsilon naught into a. Fine. So this will be the value of intensity at the surface, and here we can write modulus of E bar is directly proportional to R. Now as we move away from the surface of sphere, for outside region the magnitude of intensity is inversely proportional to the square of distance. So from this point our graph will turn out to be like this, and here we can write modulus of E bar is inversely proportional to square of distance. So this is how we can determine the value of E bar and D bar for charged sphere and uniformly charged cell. Fine. So thank you.